I'm not sure if you can see this. Hello, hello, hello. I'm still waiting, seeing if this is going to work. This is not working. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. Well, it's saying it's working, so let's hope it is. I don't think it is. But if you're watching this, hello. Today is January 20th, 2024. Why is that significant? It's significant because, as you can see on the screen, we're going to talk about self-discipline and how to build it. Now, why is that significant? It's significant because 20 days ago, the majority of us have made a resolution or several resolutions, whatever it is, we've made it 20 days ago. Now, here's a surprising statistic. Only 9% of us will actually achieve the results that we set out at the resolution. Only 9% actually reach the completion of a resolution. 9%. Now, that shouldn't really surprise you because statistically speaking, only 1 in 10 of anyone really achieves anything significant. So if you want to get into med school, for instance, or you want to get into dental school, you want to get into law school, you want to do anything competitive, such as business, or you want to be super competitive, you want to become a CEO like of a big corporation, it's usually around 1 to 10. That's usually the ratio. And 1 to 10, as you can tell, it's actually a very, very small ratio. So it's not really in your favor. But the key here is not really difficult. It's actually a very simple principle. And the principle is as simple as it sounds. And I know I'm making it incredibly simple, but it's discipline. Now, so what I've done is that I've broken down, according to my research, I've broken down how to achieve self-discipline in 5 steps. And these 5 steps, I've put them in chronological order, meaning that if you don't follow the first one, then the second one doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for you to go to the second one because you have to apply the first one in order for you to get to the second one, and so on and so forth to get to the fifth. Once you get to the fifth, then you will be able to actually transform the way that you see yourself and the way that you actually apply your resolutions. And hopefully, if you actually apply the stuff, you'll be able to achieve your resolutions and you won't be quitting your resolutions. And so then the following year, you'll be pumped to make another resolution because now you have the secret and you've achieved some. And so now you're pumped. Don't be like those people who automatically give up on themselves. Who, when I talk to them and I ask them the question, I say, "What's your resolution this year?" And they say, "I don't make resolutions." Well, you know why that happens? It's because they failed the previous resolutions. And so now they don't want to fail again. So they don't want to set themselves up to failure. And so then they don't make any more resolutions. When you and I right now, we know that the main difference is discipline. Now, without further ado, the first step to achieving self-discipline is not playing victim. This is a big one for everyone. And the reason is because what we do is that we tend to lay blame of our situation on a lot of other factors except ourselves. And when we relinquish that kind of responsibility, when we don't take accountability for the things that are happening in our life and that have happened in our life, as uncomfortable as this may sound to you, and I understand that it's very uncomfortable to hear it, but if we do not actually take full responsibility of the things that are happening in our life, then we can never ever be disciplined because we cannot, we're not in the stage of taking accountability for the things that are actually happening in our lives. So this is the exercise in this step 1. The exercise is for you to write down everything that you believe you are in control of in your life. Literally write down everything. After you finish writing down everything, okay, literally just write it down or type it, whatever. Okay, but make sure you see it. Don't just think about it. The exercise actually helps. After you finish that, then write down the things that you cannot control. And you're going to be very surprised as to how much you can actually control in your life if you're being honest with yourself. Because if you're not being honest with yourself, then obviously that list is going to be short. But if you come and try to convince yourself that, I cannot change this because of. When you say this phrase, I cannot change this because of, or I have no control of this because of, when you're giving a reason as to why you cannot do something, you have made a choice not to do it, which means by default, you are actually in control of that choice. So the fact that you've actually said that you cannot do something because you gave it a reason, therefore you are in control, therefore you just admitted that you have full control of whether or not you can decide to do that thing or not. That's step number one. Moving on to step number two. So after you now accept complete responsibility for everything that's happening in your life, as uncomfortable as that is, the second thing is to practice delayed gratification. Now, why is that important? It's important because we spend a lot of time on our phones. The surveys are saying that we spend between, on average, we spend between 4.5 to 7 hours of screen time per day. That's per day, ladies and gentlemen, not per week, per day. So if you were to take the conservative number, which is 4.5 hours, and you were to multiply that, 4.5 hours every day, 365 days a year, which you and I both know that on the weekends we're spending more time with our phones. But nevertheless, let's take the conservative number, 4.5 hours per day, 365 days per year. That results to 41 hours of 40-hour weeks. So that's a 40-hour week, 41 weeks of those. And why did I say 40 hours? Is because 40 hours is typically the full-time commitment that people have towards their work. So you could literally have another job. And that's taking the conservative number. So when you go ahead and you say, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to go to the gym, I don't have time to read, I don't have time to, do this extracurricular activity, I don't have time to spend time with this person, you're literally spending your time on the screen. Now, what is the step in this, or what is the exercise in this step number two? What you can say to yourself, okay, this is just a suggestion. What you can say to yourself is, I'm only going to spend half an hour every day on my phone. Very, very difficult. And you're going to find it incredibly difficult. Okay. And you're probably going to find it very strange as to why it's so difficult for you not to be on your phone. But it is gratification, right? Delayed gratification just means that, our brains are so overloaded, so overwhelmed that we just need some kind of break. And so then we gratify ourselves. Okay. We get that dopamine hit. And unfortunately, the easiest way for us to get the dopamine hit is by picking up our phone. And so if you want to delay gratification, which is a step number two in self-discipline, which I encourage you to do, then limit the amount of time that you actually, and limit it to a block. Limit it to some kind of block during the day. So like half an hour, 1 hour, or whatever. Start with 1 hour and just limit it. And you're going to see how just simply doing that one step is more than likely going to change a lot of things in your life. That's step number two. Step number three is don't let the small things bother you. Now, the small things come mostly from us, like from ourselves. And, we have naysayers or haters that are external to us, but the biggest ones, the biggest self-critic is ourselves. And so those are the things that really get us really worked up, because we see something that we don't like. And so we internalize it into something negative. And then that starts to boil our blood. We become very bothered by it. But allowing yourself to get bothered by anything like that is insignificant, really, because it doesn't change much, is contra to self-discipline. It really eliminates self-discipline. Because in order for you to be in full control of your time, you also have to be in full control, or the majority of the time, you have to be in control of your actions. And so if you're being bothered by small things, then that's going to delay you from having to actually do certain actions that is going to get you closer to your goals. So the biggest thing for you to understand here is you are going to have haters, and the biggest hater is yourself. But the best thing for you to do is to ignore them. Yes, ignore them. Again, it's an uncomfortable exercise. Discipline is an uncomfortable thing to do. Discipline is a very, very uncomfortable thing. But so is achieving something spectacular in your life. It is uncomfortable. So, I mean, that's where it starts off. It starts off granular and then goes to the macro. So don't get bothered by small things. Step number 3. Step number 4, which is a good segue to step number 4, which is to stay focused. Now, if you don't let things bother you, if you don't let the small things bother you, okay, because there's a lot of tiny things during the day that may bother us. So we have to practice patience. In order for us to do that, we have to stay focused. So once we get to that level where things don't really get to bother us that much, then we tend to stay focused. Now, the easiest way for us to stay focused, which I covered yesterday, which is the Pomodoro principle. The Pomodoro principle simply states that you block a certain amount of time for you to do focused work, completely undistracted, and then follow that with a time that is a break. Okay, the suggested time is 25 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of rest, followed by another 25 minutes of work, followed by 5 minutes of rest. Now, the thing that really surprises me, and this is something that I see all the time in the gym, is that people I can't even really be focused in the gym for a very short period of time. Because when I am working out and sometimes I look around and I see people on their phones texting. And I really wonder, I'm like, okay, so you came to the gym, but you came for just half an hour. Some come for 20 minutes, some 40 minutes, some an hour, but you can't stay away from your phone. So that's a big distractor from you being focused. And focus is a step number 4 for you to attain that level of self-discipline. Now let's move on to step number 5, which is the biggest one. So after now you've gone through not playing victim, practicing delayed gratification, not letting small things bother you, and staying focused. Step number 5, this is probably the biggest thing, is to review your day and to be honest with yourself with regards to seeing any weak points. To review your day at the end of that day, so spending 5 to 10 minutes reviewing your day will do wonders in terms of you even approving yourself for the following day, even by 1%. Because if you don't actually review yourself and review what you've done, what you've accomplished, because you're going to falter, obviously. You're not going to be perfect on the first go. You're going to make mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. And so, but if you're not actually reflecting on those mistakes and saying, okay, how can I make that better? By just spending that 5 minutes at the end of the day for that next day, you're going to see a tremendous, tremendous benefit to you. I hope that benefited you. Keep those 5 steps close to you next time that you apply any kind of resolution or goal. And I'm hoping for your success. Good night.